What would you do if you won the lottery tomorrow? Really, think about it for a second. Your ticket just hit the jackpot, and you've got more money than you ever imagined. What comes next? Maybe you'd buy that dream house you've always pictured, take an incredible trip across the globe, or help out people you care about most. It's exciting to imagine, isn't it? But here's the part nobody likes to think about. Nearly 1/3 of lottery winners go bankrupt within 3 to 5 years. And it's not because they didn't win enough money. It's because they didn't plan enough. Now let's flip the scenario. What if you don't win that money all at once? What if instead you gradually increase your income over time, earning more than your younger self ever thought possible? This might surprise you. The benefits and the pitfalls can be the same. Plan each buck, change your luck. Hi, I'm Demetriades. As your career grows and your income increases, you face opportunities and risks that often go unnoticed. Today, we're talking about how gradual income growth can present the same kind of challenges as a financial windfall. The difference is the risks are easier to overlook when the change happens slowly. Just like a lottery win, higher earnings can give you a false sense of financial stability. It's easy to assume that making more money means you're automatically in a stronger position. So some people stop paying as much attention to their spending. They start thinking that things like planning and budgeting are not as critical. But stability doesn't come from how much you earn. It comes from intentional decisions. Without a plan for saving, investing, or controlling spending, a large paycheck can disappear just as quickly as a smaller one. A raise or bonus can make it tempting to upgrade your car, move to a bigger house, or take more luxurious vacations. These feel like well-earned rewards, and to some extent they are. But if your spending rises with your income, you can end up in the same financial position as before, but with higher expenses. And the subtle nature of lifestyle creep makes it especially tricky. It doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual. You might start with small upgrades, a better phone, more frequent dining out habit, or a new membership to that golf club. Everything looks great on the surface. You're earning more and you've made some changes that reflect that. But lifestyle creep can lead to what I call invisible stress. Because if you haven't allocated that extra income, you can still feel financially stretched. The key to avoiding lifestyle creep is defining enough. What does your enough look like? You have to get serious about answering this question, which means figuring out what makes you feel secure, fulfilled, and free to enjoy life without overextending yourself. You do this by connecting your money to your dreams. Why? Because your dreams give your financial decisions purpose. Without that connection, it's easy to let your spending drift toward things that don't really matter. Are you working toward a life of freedom and flexibility? Or are you just keeping up with a lifestyle that doesn't bring you closer to what you really want? This is where the power of prioritization comes in. You can afford many things, but not everything. And that reality isn't limiting, it's clarifying. Plan each buck, change your luck. For example, not that I've thought about this, but what would it be like to buy an island, an airplane, or even a James Bond sports car? Okay, maybe I've thought about it a little. Personally, I think the freedom to buy all three would be awesome. But I also know that none of those things align with the life I actually want to build. And that's the whole point. Our money has a bigger purpose. For me, everything I accomplish in life has to align with my goals and my values. That means no cutting corners, no hurting others, and living in a way that makes an impact. I love God and people, and it's important to me that my choices reflect that, making sure others know they are loved by our Creator and that their lives have significance and purpose. So even if I could afford that little island daydream, I'd never make that choice. I have other plans for my money. I always say your values should guide your dreams, and by extension, your money. When those three things align, it's easier to decide where to spend, and you're also more satisfied with your decisions. Let me tell you about a conversation I had with some clients recently. We were talking about this dream they've had for years, owning a vacation home. But this dream wasn't really about the house. It was about having a place where their family could gather every summer, where the kids and the grandkids could come together and feel at home. They talked about simple things like barbecues on the porch, late night card games, and those conversations that only happen when everyone's together in one place. They said, Keith, this isn't about having a fancy getaway. It's about our family and having something that feels like it belongs to all of us. It's about building our family story. And I could tell how much this meant to both of them. So we talked about how dreams like that don't just happen and what it would take to make it real. Looking at their numbers, we realized, yes, this dream's within reach, but it meant skipping some upgrades, reconsidering a kitchen renovation, and cutting back on a couple of big trips. Not because they couldn't afford those things, but because those dollars could move them closer to their real dream. That's the key right there. When you know why a dream matters, it's a whole lot easier to make choices that support it. For them, it wasn't about owning the house. It was about the memories and the connection it would bring to their family. And honestly, that's what money should be about. It's not just a tool to buy stuff. It's a way to build a life that means something to you. Every decision you make is a chance to get closer to the things that really matter. And when you hit those goals, that's when you're hitting life's lottery. Plan each buck, change your luck. So how do you get there? It comes down to having a plan. It also means understanding the difference between financial independence and financial freedom. Financial independence is the foundation that keeps the lights on and handles life's essentials. Financial freedom lets you build the life you've been dreaming of. The difference between the two is intentionality. I recently read an article about the 7 levels of financial freedom. The concept is from author and multimillionaire Grant Sabatier, who defines money as a tool that provides more choices in how you want to live. He also talks about working in what he calls a mission-driven phase, even though he has enough money to retire. You can read his thoughts in his book, Financial Freedom. But what I really want to focus on are these 7 levels he defines, because you move from one to the next through intentional action. Let's take a look and see how they build on each other. Level 1, clarity. This is everyone's starting point. The first step is understanding exactly where you stand. That means looking at what you have, what you owe, and what's most important to you. You can't make progress if you don't know your starting point. It's kind of like trying to map out a road trip without knowing which city you're actually starting in. This is the very first thing I cover in my 4D process. Level 2, self-sufficiency. The next step is standing on your own 2 feet financially. That means earning enough to cover your expenses without relying on outside help. No contributions from family or payday loans to fill the gaps. You might be living paycheck to paycheck, trying to stretch every dollar, or juggling payments to make ends meet. And that's okay. It's part of the process. The important thing is that you're moving towards stability, building the foundation you'll need to grow from. Now, I want to pause here for a minute because you might think that if you've earned your way into a high income, neither of these things really apply. But they do. You have to consider exactly how both of these things apply to your current income, regardless of earning level. I'll also tell you that Sabatier says that 50% of U.S. workers are at level 2. And it's not a stretch to say some people never really progress beyond it. Level 2 is your foundation. It's not your ultimate goal. If you want to move toward financial freedom, you have to make very intentional choices. In our house, we call this the sacrifice before the feast. You have hard choices now that will make a positive impact later. Your choices here affect the big picture. Plan each buck, change your luck. Level 3, breathing room. This is where things start to feel different. You've got money left over after paying for your living expenses. Money you can put toward real progress, like building an emergency fund or starting to invest for retirement. But here's one of the key points I've been making. More money doesn't automatically equal breathing room. Remember how we talked about lifestyle creep? It can make or break your breathing room. In fact, statistics show that 31% of Americans earning over $100,000 still live paycheck to paycheck. That's because saving isn't about how much you make, but how you manage what you have. The key here is creating space to focus on your goals instead of just staying afloat. Level 4, stability. Once you have breathing room, you can create stability. This is where you've paid off high-interest debt, like credit cards, and built up an emergency fund that covers 6 months of your basic living expenses. I'm not talking about your regular lifestyle. I mean the bare minimum you'd need to get by if something unexpected happened. At this level, you spend less time worrying about how to handle a job loss or an unexpected illness. Stability means you have a safety net that lets you handle issues without derailing your finances. Level 5, flexibility. This is where your hard focus on stability really starts to pay off. If you can accumulate 2 years' worth of living expenses, you're no longer tied to the grind. You've got options. You could take a year off work, start a passion project, or just enjoy the peace of mind knowing you can make choices without financial pressure. But let's break this down. If you think you need $50,000 to live for 2 years, that doesn't mean just having $50,000 in savings or investments. Why? Because once you've spent that money, you're back to square one. You've covered today, but you've left nothing for tomorrow. Flexibility is about having that $50,000 readily accessible while also keeping your long-term investments growing. It's a balance between what you need right now and what you'll need in the future. Level 6, financial independence. Now you're really getting somewhere because you're no longer trading time for money. You've created a system where your money is consistently working, growing, and supporting your needs without diminishing your future. Here's what that looks like. At this level, your investments generate enough income to cover your living expenses. That could mean you have rental properties, stock dividends, or interest from bonds providing a steady income flow. To make this happen, you have to focus on building assets that generate income. Remember, it's not just about saving a lump sum. It's about putting your money to work in a way that creates a reliable flow of resources over time. Plan each buck, change your luck. Level 7, abundant wealth. This is the pinnacle of financial success, the level where money stops being a concern altogether. At this point, you've built more than enough to cover your needs, your wants, and then some. Your wealth isn't just sustaining your lifestyle. Your money equals freedom, the freedom to focus entirely on what matters most to you. This is not to say you no longer have to track your money. Of course you do, because more money means more responsibility. You have an obligation to use your resources and use them wisely. Remember, and this is the key, abundant wealth isn't about excess or extravagance. It's about the freedom to make a difference in your life, in the life of others. This is where your dreams, your goals, and money all work together for a higher purpose. This is making your life count. So my challenge to you is this. Regardless of how much money you have in the bank, take inventory where you are today. Think about what enough looks like for you, and talk about what your dreams are for you, and consider how your money can improve for others. Building your plan for the future around these ideas helps you avoid the pitfalls of spending without purpose and lifestyle creep. No matter where you fit in the 7 levels of financial freedom, every step forward makes a long-term difference in your finances and your impact. Now this is winning big. Plan each buck, change your luck. I'm Keith Demetriades. Thanks for joining me today. And if you found this discussion on money management helpful, be sure to like and share the video, subscribe to our channel, be a savvy steward, make your life count.